what it looks like right now.
Yeah.
We're spending that same amount, except we're upside down.
Negative.
We're negative. Yep.
Yeah, so that's $1 billion swing in just one session.
Yep.
Ready, set, showtime. Welcome to the Montana Majority Report. Quick, transparent, and informative. Get the inside scoop on policies, people, and decisions shaping our state, all in less time than it takes to pour your morning coffee. Stay tuned. Montana starts right here. Welcome back to another edition of the Montana Majority Report. I am Senate President Matt Regier, also Senator for Senate District 5, which is the northwest corner of Montana. I'm joined here today by Senator Carl Glimm, the Chair of Finance and Claims. Great to have you here, Carl.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, it's good. We're here to just chat about the budget a little bit. We are nearing the end of the session. The shadow is coming over the 69th legislative session. The sun's about ready to set. We've only got a few days left, which means the House Bill 2, which is the appropriation bill for a lot of the appropriations that go through the state budget, just passed today on third reading, passed the Senate, so it has to go back to the House because we amended it. Can you talk a little bit about the genesis of House Bill 2, which is really the state budget?
Yeah, so every session we have House Bill 2, and that is the state budget. And this session, the governor proposes the budget, then it comes before the legislature, and we look at it. And we start basically on day one. Well, before that even. I mean, we get it earlier on, but day one we start having hearings on it in subcommittees. We break it down into separate sections, different sections based on kind of grouping each area together. And those subcommittees work on it all morning, every day throughout the first half of the session. Then they kind of compile it into the whole big bill, goes to the House appropriations, then it goes through the House floor, then it comes over to the Senate, and we have hearings on it in the Senate, Finance and Claims, and then it comes to the Senate floor.
So we've been through that whole process, and I believe like November 15th, I believe, is when the governor has to have his proposed budget to the legislature. And once again, it's just a proposed budget, and the legislature is the one that gets to appropriate.
Yep.
The governor suggests, and we appropriate.
That's right.
And then you gave us a great synopsis of really the whole picture of where we sit right now, all the way through the House and through the Senate. Can you give us just a little bit overall view of what that budget looks like from the last 2 years to what they're proposing for the next 2 years?
Yeah, so maybe I'll even go a little bit further back than that. This is my seventh session. In my early sessions, we were growing the budget at like 2 and 3%. Then we did go through that period of COVID where, 2020 and those next couple of years, things really grew really big because of all the federal money that came in,
Yep.
right? So this is the first session that we've had after COVID, after those huge growths, and kind of getting back to normal where the federal money kind of evens out. It's more normalized. And even with that, we're still growing the state budget a lot.
What is a lot?
So all funds were up 10%. If you talk about general fund, which is just state dollars, then we're up 18%.
Oh, boy.
So that's a lot of growth. When I talked about when I first got here in 2013, we were looking at 2 and 3%. So going up, 10% all funds, 18% general fund, that's a huge growth. And then you can pile on top of that all the extra bills that we have. So we have a lot of extra bills which balance into and become part of the state budget. We call them cat and dog bills, but really it's all about state finances. So the whole thing together is what you have to look at because we have to look at the whole package, and that's what has to be balanced when we leave.
So cat and dog bills, can we call those pet projects? Would
You
that
bet.
be? Okay,
Yep.
so
Yep.
legislators' pet projects, they put a bill through that says, hey, every 2-year-old gets an ice cream cone or whatever the bill is, and it's going to appropriate, then we need $2.3 million to give every kid in Montana an ice cream cone.
Right.
So that would be a example of cat and dog bill, right?
Yep.
And all those add up, and they've been passing through. So we've got all those cat and dog bills plus House Bill 2, which has grown at 18% of general fund budget. What are we looking at statewide, where we sit right now is this even feasible?
It's not. We're upside down in about I think it's 4 or 5 months. We're upside down, and structurally, our budget if you look at the revenue that comes in and the expenditures going out, that's those two lines cross in just a few months, and we're spending money that we don't have. That's what it looks like right now.
And what
to the tune of $500 million.
500, and see, that's what is egregious to me. I remember coming in here and saw I'm on approps with you, or finance and claims with you, and I remember our fiscal division, when we came into this session, we were looking at a big surplus. That was the whole headlines in the newspaper. We got a surplus,
$2.2 billion.
$2.2 billion, and structural balance was like $522 million, right?
Yeah.
Of $500 million structural balance, and now we're
collecting over, so that what that means, positive structural balance, we're collecting more revenue than we're spending, and that's just ongoing.
Yep.
So we're adding money into the coffers all the time at when we came in. Now going out, what it looks like right now, we're spending that same amount, except we're upside down.
Negative.
We're negative. Yep.
Yeah, so that's $1 billion swing in just one session. Yeah. So can you just real quick for our listeners here, I know we've thrown a lot of numbers and structures at you guys, but just maybe give how do we get here? Just a quick high level for those that aren't appropriation nerds like you and me.
So typically the old adage is that bills go to appropriations to die. Bills go to finance and claims and they die. And there was a reason for that, right? Because we had to balance the budget. And so things that came to us, we had to look at, we had to value and see, is this worth doing? You had to make priorities. And so we would do that. Historically, we have done that. This session, we have not done that.
Why?
We have not, and it has to do with day one. So day one, we had a blow up in the Senate, and part of that activity was that they added 4 members to finance and claims, and they flipped the vote count. So
conservatives no longer
run finance and claims. It's exactly opposite. So what we originally had set up in there, we had a 2-vote advantage conservative. Now we have a 2-vote disadvantage conservative because of those 4 additional people. And so frequently in finance and claims, that vote count is 10-12.
Okay. So every pet project has been passing. There's no conservative restraint.
Correct.
Per se in the Senate anyways.
Yep. Well, and it's bleeding. They're even in the House, they aren't killing much either as far as bills. So everything is living. And so what that creates is the status sheet, the balance sheet that we have going on right now upside down. And so what that's going to lead to, the governor's going to have to veto his way to balance. And we encourage that. I mean, he's got to do it. We're calling on him to do that.
Yeah, he's really kind of our last backstop, and so I've sat with you through the session, Chair Glimm. Once again, Senator Glimm, Chair of Finance and Claims here in the Senate, which is the committee that controls the checkbook in the Senate, and we have watched day after day as spending bills have just passed after passed, with a lot of conservatives voting no. On a lot of these spending bills. We voted no on House Bill 2, which is the budget. We just said it's too big. So now our last backstop is really the executive branch of the veto pen. And at some point, math has to come into this. We have a constitutional mandate to balance the budget. We can only spend as much as we're projected to bring in. We did pass, so on the good note of this, we did pass a huge income tax. Right now as we sit, we passed a huge income tax relief reduction bill. You want to speak a little bit about that, how much that was?
Yep. So that one brought the lower limit is 4.7%. People at the lower end of the spectrum pay 4%, 4.7% for income tax. We raised that limit. I think it was at $20,000. Now it's up to roughly $100,000. So if you make less than $100,000, you're going to now pay 4.7% instead of 5.9%. And then it brought that top rate down from 5.9 to I don't remember the number.
5.4, right?
5.4.
Yeah,
yep, that's right. So 5.9 to 5.4 on that upper rate. So it helps everybody in there. And I
But
think
especially the middle class.
yes, definitely helps the middle class. You bet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was very good for the middle class.
So that's going to be huge tax relief, but that also means less money coming to the government, which you and I don't speak for you, but for me, like I am totally fine with that. I think we need to have Montana families first and state government needs to be second, and that's exactly what the income tax relief bill did. It hit the middle class and said, hey, you keep more of your money. And but now we've got that problem of which, like you said, we're calling on the governor to we got to veto a lot of these bills, these spending bills, maybe even line item veto some of the budget and say, hey, we just cannot afford that at this time if we're going to do that big of a tax relief, income tax relief.
Yep, we can't afford it. The revenues have been growing. State government doesn't need to grow as fast as the revenues are growing. So we can. The argument might be made that was irresponsible, but it wasn't. That income
Wait,
tax.
what wasn't irresponsible?
The income tax.
Oh,
cut.
yeah, gotcha.
So that income tax cut was totally justified because our revenues are coming in even higher. Mm-hmm. So that's a small portion of what the increase is in revenue. But state government doesn't need to grow as fast as eating it all up. For sure, we need to give some back to the taxpayer.
Yep,
100%.
It is. I mean, that it's always that balance of no matter at the federal level, state level, local level, it's how much you're going to spend and how much you're going to take. And I always come back to that axiom of givers have to know their limits because takers don't have any.
That's right.
And at some point, the taxpayers have to be stood up for. And I really feel like that you've done a great job of that, Senator Glimm, of standing up for the taxpayer. Obviously, there is government that has to be funded. Great programs that we need to take care of the citizens of Montana, and state government has a role to do that.
For sure.
And we need to fund those, but then come back to those pet projects. It's and that's when taxpayers need to be stood up for. And I think you've done a tremendous job with that. I've watched you over your career as you've stood up time and time again for the taxpayer that really doesn't have a lobbyist. You're kind of the lobbyist for the taxpayer here in the state government.
I will say it's guys like me and you.
Okay,
you do the same thing.
I'll
you
come
do
in
the
there
same
too.
thing. And I heard when you speak about lobbyists like that, I'm reminded of an ex-legislator that told me once. They said, you get all kinds of lobbyists lobbying you, and you get all kinds of people that are always asking you for things, especially in appropriations and finance and claims. That's who comes to the podium, right? And he said, you have to remember about the guy that's working at home, that's working his job to pay his taxes, to pay for these things. He doesn't have time to come to that podium. You have to remember him.
Yep, exactly. So, well, thanks again, Senator Glimm, for coming on the Montana Majority Report and here and give us an update of where we sit in the fiscal landscape of Montana state checkbook, really, as we sit with just a few more. What do we got? About a week left, maybe, before we call it a session.
Sometimes it's hard to tell when that day comes.
Exactly. Well, it's great. We sure appreciate you coming on and sharing your wisdom. And once again, you're kind of the lobbyist for the working Montana. Can I call you that, Senator Glimm? It is great to have you here, and hopefully, like you said, we came in with a $500 million surplus, and now as we sit, we're $500 million underwater because of all the spending that has happened, whether it's House Bill 2 or whether it's just all the cat and dog legislator pet projects that have happened, and we really need to hope the governor sides with conservative Republicans that have voted no time and time again throughout this whole session, and really right sides this budget, and hopefully he pulls through on that for us.
Yep. I think he's going to have to.
Yeah, that's mathematically.
That's just the way it is. Yep.
Well, good. Well, hopefully we can do one more podcast. It's always great. I kind of nerd out on the approach side with you, Senator Glimm, but it's been great having you on here, and hopefully we can do a follow-up here after the session and let you know how everything turned out for the taxpayer of Montana, as well as the people that get their services. I mean, I go down to the DMV too, and I want my government services that are needed. So we need to fund those too. So
that's right.
Great.